Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining. The market is still going pretty crazy. China stocks are getting demolished this morning. Bitcoin's moving up slightly, but I think the biggest thing to watch out for are these China stocks. Tom, let's take a look at like Baba and a couple others. We could see it closed yesterday right around 192. Right now it's at like 183. So it's getting demolished. Welcome Corbin, Mike, David, Terry, Vicky, I'm Fierce, Hunter, Joe, Trading Desk. Thank you guys so much for joining today. As always, let us know what stocks you're watching. We can see DD's down a little bit, but Tom, what stocks do you have your eyes on?
Man, Tesla still looks really crazy today after those earnings yesterday. Definitely have my eyes on them, and they actually got a nice little uptick on those good earnings. They had that great EPS they beat out. So I'm definitely going to be looking for Tesla to maybe pop back up towards that maybe 690 resistance today. But I'm really going to be looking for them to hit that 700 level or possibly move above that over the next couple days. I think that we could really see a good move with these type of earnings coming out and with them going pretty well. And, hopefully we just start to see more good movement out of Tesla because they've honestly been down for like the past 6 months, just obviously just consolidating pretty hard down here. So hopefully they can kind of get a little pop back up. But man, there's a lot of stocks reporting today after hours too. We're going to have Apple, Microsoft, and then we're also going to have Google. So there's definitely going to be a lot of interesting movement again today. And I would definitely keep your eye out. Powell does talk tomorrow also. Lots of people are kind of forgetting about him lately with all these earnings coming out, but he'll definitely impact the market too.
You know it. So we have Hunter saying China stocks keep getting wrecked. Tesla options are going to be crushed. See you guys on the rest stops. Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine what some of these Tesla options are going to look like today, like some of these weeklies, because it barely moved off that earnings. So it's definitely going to be pretty nasty. Welcome Raphael and B to the stream. We have I'm Fierce saying UPS had good earnings and took a beating so far in pre-market. I didn't even see that one. Let me take a look. He said UPS.
UPS, yeah, that's actually not looking good at all. And man, UPS has been one of the best stocks the past few weeks to couple years for sure. And man, it's really been flying up with COVID, but man, it really had that solid resistance around $220. And it looks like we just failed to break above that over the past couple weeks, and now we're just tanking off to the downside.
Yeah, Hunter, this one might not be bad for some short puts on it. Like maybe if we continue to see it go red once the market opens and maybe if we retest like maybe 190 or 185, it might not be bad for some short puts. The premiums should be pretty decent on this one. So thanks, I'm Fierce, for pointing that one out. I'll definitely have it on my watch list. We have B saying, good morning, guys. Caught Baba to the downside on the short term. That's awesome. That thing's tanking.
Yeah, that's actually a really good trade. And, trust those technicals. It fell below that $200 support. And you know what? It should keep going down. And we definitely see it doing that. So I'm glad it did that right below $200. Hopefully it doesn't tick back up towards this like 190 resistance again throughout the day today. Looks like we might see some green at open on Baba. But man, this has been a bad past couple days. And this is honestly going to scare a lot of people out of a lot of Chinese stocks. Hopefully NIO keeps holding its ground.
There we go. We have Corbin saying watching GLD. So let's take a look at GLD. I know that earnings are going crazy. Plus we have Powell, and it's just holding its ground. So it doesn't look bad at all. It just doesn't really have any momentum. But I think it's definitely good to have on your watch list. And the market just opened, and a lot of stocks are red so far this morning. Basically all of them on my watch list are red. Baidu is down like 3%. Neo's down 1.5%. AMD's in the green pretty well, though. And then Zoom's doing all right.
Yeah, AMD's in the green pretty well. That's good to see that Zoom's doing good too. It's always like nice to see these kind of growth stocks running up, especially ones like Zoom, which obviously like we've been watching for a while and just like have been waiting for it to kind of go up. So it's definitely going to have like a lot of up and down movement, but I really like the way Zoom's looking. It looks like it's finally like breaking out up above that like 376 resistance up there. I would think that we could see a good move today as long as this continues over the next few minutes. But that's interesting. He was watching GLD. GLD's been talked about quite a bit lately. A lot of people have been thinking it's going to go up. A lot of people are saying to short it. Honestly, I'm 50-50 on it right now. I think it could go either way, but I would definitely favor to the upside with the inflation news coming out. But man, let's see if how Moderna is doing. I know that they've been really killing it. Looks like they're even flying up today at open again after having that. They almost, they didn't necessarily crash yesterday, but they had a pretty big sell off. And man, today they're kind of flying back to the upside.
For sure, yeah, they definitely have good momentum today. They're up around 2%. Honestly, I think it still has more room to fall. It looks so overbought, like especially on a daily chart, and then plus normally what happens with these setups is when they get added to the S&P, they normally end up falling off over like the next couple weeks or so. So it's definitely on my watch list. And then we have David saying UPS, Riot, and Mara. So those are the stocks he's watching. Yeah, UPS was falling off of that earnings report, but how is Riot and Mara looking, Tom?
Man, I hope they're looking well. I know Bitcoin was looking pretty decent earlier this morning, but yeah, it looks like they're just kind of flat. And obviously, they're not back up to those highs of yesterday, but overall, it still looks decent. They're holding this level around $32. So I think that would be a pretty decent area to watch for today out of Riot. And with Mara, I would say watch for $28. That seems like a pretty decent support. And I would think that Bitcoin could keep going up today. You know, Bitcoin had an awesome day yesterday, popping up above 40,000. And man, today it honestly looks almost just as good. It has a lot of momentum even right now and looks like it's heading right back up towards that resistance.
For sure. So Hunter, Tesla is up like 0.05%. This thing did not move at all on earnings. And I'm just going to look at the change on some of these weekly calls and puts. So, wow. Tom, this is crazy. So, like the puts, almost all of them are down at least 40%. Some are down as much as 85%. And then, the calls are basically the same thing. I mean, this is pretty crazy, if Tesla moves pretty significantly in one direction or the other, hopefully some of them can turn green, but that just goes to show you theta decay.
Yeah, for sure. And that shows you that like these earnings can be really, really risky to play. Obviously, we're always talking about that. Everybody's always asking us how earnings are going to go. I think I've been asked about how Apple's earnings are going to go about 6 times now. And man, I think it could go like this, unfortunately. Hopefully it doesn't. But man, Tesla, like they even reported great numbers. They had great momentum yesterday, but lately these stocks are just selling off at open the day after they report. And it's just not a good sign, especially with Tesla. Makes that IV drop. And like you said, Mike, you can't even win, even if you guess the direction right. And right now, it was so hard to guess the direction right. We opened green and then we ended up closed, or now we're red 0.7%. So Tesla's definitely a volatile stock, and definitely like look for this type of same movement to happen, like with Apple, AMD, and a couple others. I don't think that we're just going to see like Apple and AMD just start to break out to all-time highs or anything crazy like that. I would almost more of expect weird movement like this.
Yeah, I'm with you for sure. But Tom, check out UPST. This one looks pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah, it does. It's actually breaking that high of yesterday, right around like 123.50. Looks really solid, actually. Hopefully it can continue. I know that we've been looking at it quite a bit. And on the daily chart, I think it looks even more solid than on the intraday charts. Keep in mind, though, there's that huge resistance from yesterday, right around that like 123.60 level. So be very careful with it right now. It is pulling back very slightly, but I think it could definitely catch some more momentum and start to run up.
Alrighty, and then we have Jay saying, any thoughts on BABA? So, obviously it's very risky given everything that's going on with China stocks right now. It's not like bad if you wanted to average in like with shares. Keep in mind that they have earnings very soon, and even though that they are a good company, this China news can just demolish them. So obviously it's very risky like that, but I feel like the best way to play this one is to sell puts. Implied volatility is sky high. The stock is low. There's a lot of sellers coming in, and you can get some really nice premiums for some of these puts. Like if you go out to, let's say you went out to the August 20th chain. If you wanted to sell an at the money put, you can get paid about $1,000. But let's say you even wanted to go like further out. Let's say you went to, let's say you went to like the 140 strike put. You have a 92% chance of winning, and you'll get paid $100. In the worst case scenario, you buy at 140, which is, it probably won't hit 140. But I think that's a pretty good setup for some cash secured puts.
Yeah, that's honestly a pretty tempting trade, to be honest with you. That honestly like really sounds good, Mike, all the way out there at 140. Like there's almost no way Baba, at least if it goes to 140, there's no way it stays there for very long. Like that would be a crazy move out of this stock. And man, like you said, what was it, a 92% chance to win?
Yep, over.
Yeah. Yeah, over 92%. So that's so good. Always you want to try to get it on your side as much as possible, the favorability that is. But obviously, like whenever you're looking at stuff, it's always easier to like sell the options rather than buying them. And selling puts is awesome because you either get those shares at 140, which is awesome anyways. There's an awesome support down there. It'll be the lowest Baba's been in years, or you just get paid that $100. And obviously, it's almost like a free $100 because Baba going to 140 would be absolutely nuts, especially by August 20th. That's like under a month away. So honestly, that's like a super good trade. And anybody who has like a lot of capital or something just sitting around, always trust your own gut. But man, that's honestly a pretty good trade to follow. And like Mike said, 92% chance of winning that $100 at least.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. And then we have Alex saying thoughts on Penn, cruise lines, and airlines. Have they gone up too much now to get into shares at this point? So if you're just looking to like scalp shares or something like that, then yeah, probably. But if you're looking at this for like a long-term hold or like a hold for a couple weeks or a couple months, I still think that they're at some really solid levels, especially Penn. So it just depends on how you're looking to trade it. If you're looking to hold it for a couple weeks or a couple months, I still think it looks pretty awesome. Just one thing to watch out for is that they do have earnings pretty soon.
Yeah, that earnings is definitely going to make it a little bit different, especially for people holding like longer term options and stuff. But I would say Penn looks really solid for the longer term, Mike. I don't know, I know we've been talking about it for the past couple weeks, but it looks really solid off this like $65 support. I also really like the other ones. Some of those cruise lines like CCL, I think is in a great spot right now. NCLH is looking pretty good too, but I really like CCL better, and I think that their setup looks a little bit better on the daily chart. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a safer stock. It just means that the setup I think looks better. You could make a little bit more on it, but overall, I think both of those stocks are going to be great for the longer run. And CCL, they might still go down in the short term, with this new Delta variant stuff coming out and more restrictions, of course. But I think over like the next year, maybe next summer, these cruise lines will really flourish.
Yeah, it's more of a longer term play. No one can catch the bottom, but in the grand scheme of things, you're getting in at a pretty low level, and it's always good to be buying in when it's relatively low rather than when it's breaking out of highs. So good stuff there. And then we have Matthew asking about the Dow, so DIA. How's it looking, Tom?
Yeah, it's actually looking pretty bad. It looks like another double top around 35,000 on the indice, and it looks like we are starting to go to the downside today, which is unfortunate. We did talk about a lot of stocks being red. Unfortunately, Triple M went red today on their earnings. They're a pretty big Dow stock. That was a pretty bad move by them. I know Lockheed Martin was not looking the best a couple days ago. That's a pretty big Dow stock too. So overall, we're just seeing a lot of these bigger Dow stocks going down. We got the airlines kind of down again today. Banks, I wonder how they're doing. I know they're a pretty big part of the Dow, and they're down like 1.4%. So overall, I can understand why the Dow is going down. It just sucks to see like Caterpillar, Triple M, all these banks going down. And overall, it's just how the market kind of goes. But I'll say right now, the Dow is not looking the best out of all the indices. I would say, honestly, the best one's probably the SPY right now. Well, honestly, they're all starting to sell off. So they're all looking pretty bad. But I would say the Dow's kind of leading the way, and the SPY's not looking too good either.
Yeah, and then look at the IWM, Tom. This is it's an ETF for the Russell 2000. A lot of times the small caps sell off before anything else, and just keep it on your radar. It's another indice to watch out for. I know a ton of people always forget about it, but it actually is a pretty solid ETF to trade, and the options are pretty liquid, so definitely keep your eye on it. And then Tom, let's just do a check-in with Bitcoin. I know that they were going crazy over the past couple days or so. How's Bitcoin looking now?
It's honestly holding its ground ever since open today. We've seen some more green candles come into Bitcoin. It looks like we're actually popping up above 38,700 right now. So it looks pretty solid. I will say there's some resistance coming up that I see right around 38,850, somewhere like right around there. Keep in mind, Bitcoin's so high price, it's hard to get the numbers exact. So give or take about like $20 or something a coin. But I will say, looks really solid today. Lots of upwards momentum, and honestly, like the daily chart of Bitcoin looks pretty good. You know, the way that the candle is holding green today, kind of heading back up towards those highs of yesterday, makes it look really good. And there's just a ton of momentum right now. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green candles in a row on the daily chart. So that's definitely not a bad sign.
For sure. So UPS is getting smacked. They're down around 8% today. Not a good sign. I'll probably sell puts on this one sometime soon, but I think we're a little bit early. I wanted to fall a little bit more. Looks like they had good earnings though, which I guess that's just the market nowadays. You post good earnings, you beat on your estimates, and they beat pretty well actually. Hold on, let me take a look at that again. So they had earnings of $3.06 a share, and they were only expected to have earnings of $2.74 a share. So it's pretty interesting. I'll have to look more into the report.
Yeah, and it even says they beat on estimates on online delivery momentum and stuff like that. So definitely weird to see like why it was going down, which is pretty strange unless they're like maybe like looking at something coming up with like revenue or maybe like the Delta variant or something. But they don't even really talk about on the CNBC report here why UPS is going down the way it is. But man, I will say they've had so much upwards momentum the past year, especially like the past couple of years with COVID going on. I don't know why that helped them so much. I guess because everybody started using stuff online, but you can just tell like their stock like doubled or tripled over the past, doubled like over the past year. So definitely good movements for UPS, but I will say always be prepared for kind of pullbacks like we're seeing right now. Whenever stocks go up so parabolically, always be prepared for pullbacks. And you can't even have like, for example, they have great earnings and it just can't even help them anymore because they're just up so much, it seems like.
All right, we have B saying, guys, I've been seeing a lot of analysts are bullish on Microsoft stock because of their earnings and are giving it a price target of $310 and more. How do you guys feel about Microsoft? All right, so just be very careful when you hear analysts giving these crazy price targets. One, there's no time frame to them a lot of the times. And then two, let's say a giant hedge fund buys a ton of call options on Microsoft. They're going to tell, all their analysts that work for them, hey, give Microsoft crazy high price targets. So then it, attempts to boost the price higher. So just main story, just be careful what you hear analysts say. A lot of times there's a lot of shady things that go on behind the scenes and all that stuff. But personally, I think a lot of these tech stocks are way overbought. Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, a lot of other ones. It's just my opinion. Plus, given that a lot of them have earnings soon. And then on top of that, we have Powell speaking on Wednesday. So, it probably can go higher. But in my opinion, it's just not worth the risk.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth the risk either. And like you said, with a lot of these stocks being at all-time highs, that can be a good thing. But it also makes stocks go down pretty easily. Like it means that they're obviously like at like profit-taking levels. So at some point, some of these whales are going to start taking profits on these, millions of shares that they have. And when that starts to happen, you'll see these pretty big sell-offs come in, kind of like what we're seeing with UPS, kind of like what we're seeing with a couple other stocks right now, especially like BABA, for example. Like BABA, they were at all-time highs, and then some stuff went on with China. A bunch of whales started selling out. And then now look at BABA, all the way down about, pulled back like 50% on the stock. And we see stocks pull back like this sometimes, pretty normally. Like even with Apple, we ran up to like $143 and then came all the way back down to like 115. Now we didn't pull back 50%, but still though, that's a pretty big pullback for a stock like Apple. And, I could definitely see Apple hitting this 150 resistance and starting to go down again. And talking about those analysts kind of saying stuff like this, I actually saw some analysts came out. Vicky actually sent me a message this morning, and T was actually downgraded, of course, yesterday. I know we just grabbed those leaps, but T was actually downgraded and was down pretty good at open and then ended up coming back up, which is great. But just overall, like those analysts, it doesn't always mean that, that they're going to be right or that they're going to be wrong or anything. But always, like Mike said, almost take it with a grain of salt. They have a lot of shady stuff going on. They might have positions in it on their own, or they might be shorting it. Nobody knows. But it's always like weird to see these like upgrades, downgrades, price targets, and sometimes you'll see some stuff and it just makes you really scratch your head.
Yeah, for sure. And then Tom, AMC is down around 3% today. It's just been consolidating for weeks. What do you see with this one? Do you have any levels for us? Like, I know that it's just kind of like losing its momentum. Even when we look at the implied volatility, like a couple months ago, I should say a couple months ago, the IV was at like 360%, and now it's under 200%. So it's just like, it's just slowing down.
Yeah, definitely getting slower and slower. And I think that shows that a lot of traders are starting to get out of AMC. Unfortunately, the stock's going down. I think that shows that a lot of people are selling out. Honestly, I've been following the 1,000 SMA on the 15-minute chart pretty good. Bounced right off of it in pre-market this morning. Now we're seeing some red movement. Bounced off of it a couple days ago and went down off of there as well. Definitely there's a pretty good resistance today around $40. If we can pass back up above 40, I think we'll end up breaking that 1,000 and we'll move back to the upside. But make it break above $40. I think that's going to be a really big level to watch for. On the bottom side, there's a huge support around $32.50. You could even say like $31.50, somewhere like right between there. AMC is a little volatile, so you have to give or take $1 with it sometimes. But I will say that it looks to me like it will keep going down. But on the daily chart, it was trying to head back up for like the past couple of days. We kind of bounced off this bottom level around 35. We're like retesting $40 right now. Like I said, if we pop back above 40, I think we could have a little bit of a chance to go up again, maybe for a couple days this week. But if we don't, if we don't hit back up above 40, we're definitely going to have some problems.
Alrighty, so we have Alex saying, how's Mara and Riot for cash secured puts? So I think they're pretty good. One thing though is if you're just looking to play, the Bitcoin move, in my opinion, it's better to just buy Bitcoin outright rather than just like buying these stocks. That's just my opinion. But it's definitely pretty good. Their premiums are relatively high. But yeah, it's good. I like it overall. I can't wait till there's a Bitcoin ETF. I'll be selling a lot of puts on that. But then Tom, I don't know if I'm seeing this correctly, but did you see Target today?
No, I didn't, but wow, it is actually starting to come off and turn off to the downside. I don't think we've seen movement like this out of it in like 3 or 4 months.
I know. I mean, do I see a red day in the works with Target? This is crazy. Like, this stock only goes up every single day. What's happening?
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to see what ends up going on. If it hits this 257 support and goes back up, then we might see some more green, but man, this is some bad movement. I don't think that I've seen this type of red movement with Target in a while. And, like I said, we're starting to see a lot of these Dow stocks fall off to the downside. And Target's one of those big players. And they've been a pretty safe stock for the past couple months, just going straight up, almost no red days. If it was red, it was just a very flat like consolidation day. No real like moves at the downside. And hopefully we can see something soon. We've been waiting for a move to the downside with Target for quite a while. And like you said, very surprising to see red right now. Hopefully it doesn't turn around and end up turning back to green, because if we've seen that happen a lot too, where, they'll open up with like some downwards movement and then just recover back up throughout the day. So hopefully today might be the start of a little bit of a downtrend.
I hope. I mean, this thing has been uptrending for way too long. I've been waiting for this one to fall forever now. So I'm really hoping that this thing pulls back. It's just way overbought in my opinion. And, it's just, I don't know what's up with it. Like every day it'll just skyrocket up. I'm hoping that it breaks that trend very soon and tanks off. I think that they have a lot of room to fall. In certain ways, they remind me of Home Depot from a couple months ago. This thing went up every single day, and then they pulled back big time. They pulled back from 345 all the way to 300.
Yeah, it actually does remind me of this almost exact setup, and hopefully we can see a big pullback, kind of like what we saw with Home Depot. And, whenever we started to see that pullback, it was 2 pretty significant red days there. So maybe we'll start to see Target sell off a lot more today. And I'd really like to see, some solid red movement. I don't want to see like a bunch of small like stair steps to the downside or anything. I'd like to see, I'm not asking for like a big 5% crash or anything like that, but I'm just looking for like a, maybe like a good like 2% red day or something like that.
You know it. All right, and then we have, let's see, we have B saying even FedEx is getting smacked. Yeah, UPS and FedEx are getting smacked. We have Jorge saying CLOV is back down to $8. That's not good.
Yeah, this is not good at all. It actually just broke below $8, kind of sitting right at that support. We'll have to see if this can kind of hold up, but man, it's not looking good right now. There's a little bit of support around like 793, so we can look out for that, but definitely not looking good in the short term.
Yep. And then we have Keisha saying, do you guys think we'll get another Green Day in Netflix today? So let's take a look. So NFLX. Yeah, I mean, it's green right now. It's up just under 1%. It's trending pretty nicely. If we look at the SPY, it's just kind of mixed. QQQ is falling a little bit. I mean, I'm not like, I wouldn't put my money on it, but it looks like Netflix is definitely trending in the right direction. Just one thing to watch out for is that they are at a pretty strong resistance right at like you could say like 522.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of resistance coming up, so be really careful with it on the intraday level. On the daily chart, hopefully it keeps going up. It's looking like it could maybe come up and retest these 560 highs or like that resistance, at least around 560. So I'd like to see that, but man, we're honestly like, we're so 50-50 right now, I think, with all these tech stocks. Netflix went down on earnings. Now they're kind of recovering right back up. So we'll have to see, I think, how maybe like some of these other earnings go like later in the week to kind of give like a, give the tech sector kind of like a solid direction here. Like we're seeing stocks like Netflix, AMD, Apple, they're all just kind of sitting around these highs, around these resistance levels that they've been hitting for like the past couple of years. And it's just that they're all at like these very interesting levels. And I think that we'll finally like see a good direction, maybe like when Powell talks or hopefully after tonight, after all these earnings.
All righty. So it looks like McDonald's is having a nice pre-earnings run-up, which is awesome to see. They're up around 1%. They have earnings pretty soon. LCID is tanking off a little bit. They're down around 2%, but overall they are still up. We have XPEV tanking off a little bit. To me, it looks like they have more room to fall. What else do we have moving? Apple to the downside. Yeah, Apple's definitely selling off a little bit right now, and they have earnings today. So I know a lot of people are going to have their eyes on that one.
Yeah, that's really not good to see with Apple. Everybody has been looking for Apple to go up, and it's never good to see a stock fall down ahead of earnings. It means that there's some people obviously with like a negative sentiment, or there's people just kind of taking profits. Apple's at like all-time highs right now. It's right around that 150 mark, and we have earnings. So I'm not surprised to see it kind of, like honestly, like let's just say I had, $3 million or 3 million shares of Apple or, what have you. I would definitely be unloading some right now before this earnings report comes out.
I think it's just a lot of profit taking. I mean, it's at such a high level right now. We have some people have different opinions on this, but, the Delta variant increasing. We have, Powell speaking this week, increased China tensions. So, it makes sense to be selling out at these levels, especially with tech stocks this high. So, personally, I'm not bullish on Apple right now. But looking at Disney, this one does look pretty good, and I am bullish on this one for like the next couple months or so. And they just started popping up intraday. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, what, Apple?
No, Disney, Tom.
Oh, Disney. Okay. Yeah, Disney, I think, looks really, really solid. I would say it looks like there's a pretty big resistance coming up around 180. You could say like 179.50 around like where we're heading up to right now, but I really like it. It has another solid green day today. If we can break out of these levels, I think we'll see a pretty solid move back to the upside. And honestly, the daily chart doesn't look too bad. It has been trading, though, between a range of like, I will say like 185 and like 170. So definitely look out for that. But I will say it looks like we're getting towards the upper end of this range. Like we're going to finally maybe have a breakout to the upside. And, I've been waiting for Disney for quite a while, and maybe it'll just take some good earnings down here on August 12th. And, they've been having a pretty good summer. The parks have been pretty full, and I know they reopened the one in California. So hopefully they can have some good profits coming in.
Alrighty. UPS is still tanking off. It's getting demolished today. It's definitely going to be a good setup for some short puts pretty soon. I don't know if you saw this one, Hunter, but definitely looks pretty good. Redfin's down around 2% today. What else is moving? BLNK down around 3%. NEO is the worst stock on my watch list so far, down 5%.
Yeah, NEO's actually not looking good today. That's a pretty bad sign. Tesla had those earnings and kind of went parabolic. NEO's moving down. Keep in mind though, NEO is one of those Chinese stocks. So a lot of people are kind of throwing it into that category right now, which sucks for NEO, unfortunately. I really like NEO, and like for the longer term, I think they're going to do great. They're going to have a lot of profits in China and everything like that. But overall, I think it's a pretty good stock, pretty good company, and I really like the way that they're and they're already kind of selling cars, which is a good sign. We have a lot of companies out here that are EV companies that haven't even really sold any cars yet. So it's good to see NIO starting to get traction. And I think that once they report earnings and once this China news kind of goes away, we'll see them start to come back up.
All right, let's do a double check on mRNA, Moderna, Tom. Here we go. It's now in the red. I know it had a great open, but it's starting to sell off. It is down around 1.5%. We're getting very close to that $330 support level. It's a huge level, and if we break through it, I would expect it to fall more.
Yeah, me too. It honestly looks really good off the SMAs also. Hit right off the 100 SMA on the 15-minute. It opened, fell right down below it. That's a pretty good confirmation off of that. It even failed to break out above that at close yesterday. So really good level there. Like you said, if it breaks that support, it'll look really bad to the downside. So hopefully it does that and we see a good move down, because, man, I've been waiting for it for a long time, and it looks like we might be able to get some credit spreads in here soon.
Yep. All right, so we have Kumar saying Tesla review for a day trade, please. Let's take a look, Tom. Tesla. So it's down around 1.5%. We're seeing a lot of selling pressure. I'm more biased on this one to the downside. I don't know about you, Tom, just given that, there's not a lot of buying activity going on. It looks like to me a lot of profit taking right before a lot of these big tech earnings.
Yeah, and I was really hoping for a good move up with Tesla. They're one of my favorite companies out there. I was really hoping for some good earnings or a good outlook with them. But overall, right now, it's definitely just some crazy moves with them. And I would say there's a pretty big, longer term trend line on my chart. This big blue line, it's been on here for quite a few days now, or it's honestly been on here since April or May or somewhere around there. But I've been really looking at this line, and Tesla lately was falling down below it, came right back up, confirmed off of it, failed to break out, and now it's been kind of moving back down. So I'll definitely be looking at it to the downside even more. I'm still kind of curious on Michael Burry's position. I know back in April, they were talking about Michael Burry was still short Tesla and stuff. So I'm wondering if he's still short them or not. I wonder if he got out around $600 or not. And I'm still really curious. I have a weird feeling we might not ever hear about that again, but it was definitely very interesting articles and stuff to hear while it was out. And, like I said, I'm really interested to see if he's still in that or not, because just based off of this technical, just looking at the trend line and everything, I could see Tesla still going down in the shorter term.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not bullish on it right now. I like them for the long term. I think they're a good company, but just with the momentum in the market and just their movement, it's been a little rough lately. And then we have, let's see, Alex saying thoughts on BMY for the rest of the day. So let's take a look. BMY. If we look at it, it is down around 0.4%. If we look at an intraday, Tom, we can see a gap down a little bit, and it's trying to run up now. It doesn't look amazing to the upside or the downside. Obviously, that gap down kind of sucks, but it's trying to run up now. One thing I do like about it is that a lot of value stocks have been running up lately. Like you look at McDonald's, you could even look at KO. BMY kind of falls in that category, so it's good to see that. And that's like it's not like it's just like one of these overbought tech stocks. So it doesn't look like amazing to the upside or the downside. I'm just hoping for it to run as high as possible, so I could close out before earnings.
Yeah, McDonald's honestly looks pretty strong right now. That's a really big move out of them. And man, I know that people have said that since the pandemic went on, McDonald's has been really fire, and it's just awesome to see them running up like this.
For sure. We have Jorge saying everything is tanking. Even AMD just lost all of its daily gains. How's AMD looking?
Yeah, AMD looks really solid, I'd say. It looks like it's moving pretty good to the upside. I mean, I should say. It's honestly moving down now, though. Early on this morning, though, that was a pretty good move it had. And now it just totally sold off. It's falling right back below that support around like 92.25 and just looks terrible to the downside.
Yep. All right, we have Maine saying, sorry, missed the Apple review. What do you think of Apple puts for a day trade? I like it. It looks like a lot of profit taking on Apple right now. I think it looks okay overall. Like, obviously, statistically speaking, playing puts on Apple doesn't work that much, but in this scenario, I think it looks pretty good. Just know it'll be risky because, it's Apple, and most of the time Apple trends up. But, yeah, I think it looks pretty good overall. We have B saying, guys, DD is the only China stock in the green. I mean, they've been getting smacked lately, so, that's good to see. I mean, they're up a little bit, like you could say just under 2%. So it is good to finally see them in the green. They lost so much value over like the past couple weeks. It's kind of crazy. Like they IPO'd at like 18 or 17. You could say like 17, and they went as low as like $6.50. So it's good to see them in the green a little bit. They've just been getting demolished. Then we have Vicky saying, hit the like button. There we go, Vicky. Thank you for sharing that. And then she asked about BSX. What do you think?
Yeah, BSX, I think it looks really solid to me. It's actually getting right back up to these resistances. I'm glad to see it pass above $45. I think that was a pretty good move it had today around open. And I'm not saying it can keep going today. This is already a pretty big move. I would say the move today is just about over, but it's going forward. It's definitely not like my favorite stock over the next day or two, but I will say hopefully it can start to break out and maybe get up above these resistance levels. But we're getting so close to these that it's almost not even a play unless it goes up above these.
All right. And then we have Johnny L saying, thoughts on Square for 1 month out calls. I do not like it. Of course it can pop up, but given the current state of tech stocks, plus earnings, just tech earnings in general coming up. Yeah. So Tom, we're looking at Square. And then, Powell speaking too. It's just not worth the risk in my opinion. Of course it can pop up. Always trust your gut, but it's looking rough.
Yeah, it is. It's looking really rough, unfortunately, and it's falling right below that 260 support, which is not a good sign. I really like Square, though, but in the short term, just be really careful. They're like right up at those resistances. Unfortunately, like I said, it's falling back below 260. I could see it going down for a couple of days, and just looking at the daily chart, it definitely has that type of setup to it right now where it looks like it's starting to turn back over, and it might just have a couple more days of red.
We have Mike saying, would now be a good time to get into UPS? In my opinion, no, but it would be a good time to sell some puts on it. So, for example, if you wanted to get into UPS now, you might be buying in at 190. But if you sell some puts on it, you can, let's say you went to the August 6th expiration, you can sell the 180 puts and you can get paid about $75 for doing that. So, your cost basis would be basically $179 a share. So you can get a pretty nice reduction in that. So personally, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell some puts pretty soon on it as long as it keeps falling. So yeah, hopefully that helps you there. Selling puts, like you don't have to do the August 6th expiration. You can sell at the money puts for August 20th or, whatever you want. But I think selling puts is definitely a pretty solid deal right now. And then we have Adrian saying Baba getting swapped. How's it looking? It is down around 4%. How's it looking, Tom?
Yeah, pretty bad actually. It's staying below the 100 SMA again. It's just failing to break out above that on the 5 minute. Not looking good, turning right back off to the downside, and just overall more downwards movement out of them. I'm not saying that they're gonna break 182 and keep going down like that today, but man, they're just looking red. Even right now, a lot of people were maybe hoping that they would start to catch some green at open and maybe like recover back up to 190 or something like that. But obviously, these Chinese stocks just keep gapping down every single day that the market opens up. So not a good sign this week. And hopefully, China can start to turn things around. But in the short term, I would definitely stay away from these.
Yeah, it's looking pretty rough. And then with the next comment, we have G saying, would you say this is a good time to get a lot of shares of Clove since we are testing these support levels? So it's very risky. That's the thing. It's very risky. If you're someone who likes to gamble, then it would be better to get Clove at support rather than when it's breaking out. But personally, I think there's a lot of other companies that are a lot better, like Penn, PENN, Disney, Corsair, which is CRSR. Boeing's pretty good. NCLH, these companies are a lot safer. You probably wouldn't make as much as if you did if Clove were to pop, but they're a lot safer. So I don't really gamble, especially with this stuff. So not for me. I wouldn't be doing this, but if you wanted to buy it, it's better to buy it at support rather than when it's breaking out above 14.
Yeah, that's true. And just keep in mind, Clove is also one of those bigger hype stocks. So it's always going to be like a super high risk, high reward setup, no matter how you look at it.
All right. And then we have Maine saying, did Penn dropped their big news? It lost all of yesterday's gains. Let me take a look at the update on Penn. So let's go to Penn. It's down around 2%. Live news. I am not seeing their announcement just yet. So I don't think so. And then we have B saying, how do you guys feel about Lockheed Martin to the upside for the short term? What do you think?
Yeah, I honestly like it. It looks really solid, I think, to the upside. But just keep in mind they just went down on earnings, which is never good. But I think that they're getting down to these support levels. So I like them for the longer term. For the shorter term, I'm not sure what to think on it too much. It kind of is recovering up today. So we need to see what happens with it, but overall it's just kind of sitting right where it is. So I would say it looks like it might go more flat than anything else for the next couple weeks to couple months, but I love it for the long term. Lockheed Martin's one of my favorite companies, and to me they're a lot better than a company like Boeing as far as safety goes. So I think it's a lot. This stock though, I know that we were just talking about Clove and talking about a couple other safer options, but Lockheed Martin is going to be one of those safe options. And keep in mind, you're not going to make near as much with this one as you would make with something like Zoom or something else even like that. If we go up to all-time highs right now, you're only going up 16%. So keep in mind, the wins on this one aren't going to be as significant as some of the others.
All right. We have A saying, I'm buying more BABA shares now. Always trust your gut. Jorge saying KO looking strong. On the other hand, yeah, KO's looking pretty good. They have some good momentum. They're a nice, slow and steady stock. And, while a lot of funds are maybe selling out of some of their overbought tech stocks like Apple, you could say Nvidia, Microsoft, and all the other ones, they're probably transitioning into some of these stocks like KO, as we can see, a lot of the safer value type plays, McDonald's, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we see a transition into stocks like Boeing or even NCLH sometime soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a kind of a rotation into that either. And, I think we're starting to see it. Nvidia's posting red today. We're seeing Boeing kind of, they're red, but they're looking like they might kind of go green today if they can keep this momentum up. So overall, hopefully we see that type of transition, and I'd love to see it. Boeing has been kind of on the cusp of kind of breaking out for the past couple months now, and a lot of people are really waiting for them to kind of break out solidly above that 250 resistance and get a solid move, maybe up towards like 300 or maybe even back up towards 350. I think people would be ecstatic if that happened. And Boeing just bounced off of this longer term trend line too. So I could honestly see it maybe happening pretty soon. And the good thing is that Boeing isn't necessarily an airline. Now they do follow the airline somewhat because they make airplanes, but the good news is that they have a lot of government contracts and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So let's see. Neo's down 7% today. Wow. Wow, this is pretty big.
Yeah, Neo's never looking good for some reason over the past few days. It's just looking terrible. Really bad sell-offs. Hopefully they hold the $40 support.
All right, Johnny is saying Tesla's tanking hard. So if I look at Tesla, yeah, it's down around 2.5%. There's just a lot of profit taking right now. And they actually had decent earnings, which is good to see, but that's just how the market is sometimes. We have Alex saying, can you look at T, please? Sure, so let's take a look at T. T is in the green. It's looking pretty good. It had a bad open, but it's looking pretty good overall. It's up around, it's pretty close to up around 0.5%. What do you think?
Yeah, some of those super smart analysts at Argus downgraded AT&T this morning, and they downgraded them to hold from buy. And so I guess that's probably the reason why they fell it open. But I've never heard of Argus personally, but hopefully they end up going back up. Obviously, they really rocketed back up so far. So overall, good thing to see. On the daily chart, T has an awesome support down here around $28. We've really been holding that level pretty solidly the past few days, and I could see it starting to pop back up. And if it starts to go up, and if you're following the play from the Swings channel, then man, we might be able to hold this one in the profits for quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good level, and you got a lot of time on it. So if we see a pop back up to who knows what, it could be definitely a really solid trade. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at BABA right now. They're slowly selling off intraday. It looks like we're about to retest that low of day right around like 182.
Yeah, BABA's, I mean, I think that we might see more red come into this one, unfortunately. It's looking crazy. Well, the 1 minute we are seeing a little bit of a pop now, but that 182 support should hold up pretty well today. There's even a good one around 182.75. So hopefully we hold this. Looks like we are catching some green off of that 182.75 area, which is nice to see. So hopefully BABA can get back up there, but I would be very careful with this one. Like I said, though, we could start to go up, but on the daily, it's just like every day we wake up and it's just gap down like 3 or 4%. So be careful. You might wake up tomorrow and see it gap down again.
Alrighty. How's Plug looking?
Plug, we actually haven't talked about this one in a long time, but Plug is not looking good, actually turning back over again. I was actually hoping to see like Plug and BLNK kind of go back to the upside, but this is not looking good in the short term. There's that huge support down there at $20, and they're at 25 right now. There's also a pretty good one around 25, so watch out for that over the next like day or two. Maybe we'll hit that and go back up, but I will say the momentum is definitely looking out like it's going to the downside here.
All right, we have G saying my put on AbbVie hit. Knew that news about them being sued would eventually hit. There we go. AbbVie tanked today. It's down like almost 6%.
Yeah, I actually remember him talking about that a couple weeks ago, and AbbVie was like right at that $90 support, and it just broke right through that. Like he said, I guess there was some news that went on with that lawsuit or something. I actually don't know what the lawsuit is. I'll have to look into it, but that's a pretty bad move we're seeing out of AbbVie right now, and hopefully AbbVie can start to go up in the future. I know that those new Call of Duty games, they always come out in like November, so maybe that'll give them something to look forward to over the next few months.
Alrighty. Just looking at a couple different stocks right now. There's a lot of selling pressure today, Tom. Snapchat is selling off pretty big. Well, not too crazy compared to a lot of these other stocks, but still, it's down 2%. Neo's down big. AMC's down. Roku's down. Apple's down. Intel's down. Everything's down today.
Yeah, even Intel, that's not good to see. Apple looks pretty good off that 150 resistance up there. If anyone played puts and tried to really snipe that off of that 150 area, they honestly did pretty good there. So kudos to anyone who did that. But Honestly, Apple's not looking good short term. I know we've talked about that one a ton today. Never good to see these tech stocks going bad. I know Snapchat had those great earnings and really gapped up. And man, if they keep catching red, they might start filling that gap back to the downside. That's not looking good at all. I'm seeing so many stocks down like 3 or 4%. I have LVS, Palantir, Enphase, Baba, Aorus Cannabis, CGC is down a lot too. Never good to see stuff like that. I know a lot of people have been maybe looking for these marijuana stocks to pop back up, but looks like CGC and a couple of the other ones like Tilray are even breaking their supports.
Looking pretty rough, Tom. Pretty rough. What else do we have moving? I'm just gonna look at just the market at the S&P 500 heat map real quick, and it looks like UPS is leading the way to the downside. And it's not that it's not that every stock is red, but most are. But one stock that's looking pretty good to the upside is RTX. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah, I did. I saw them with earnings this morning. I heard they had good earnings, but I didn't see the stock move too much today. And yeah, that's actually really good movement. They're kind of like a Raytheon's almost like a Lockheed Martin, aren't they?
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, they're like a defense stock. So yeah, I really like this type of stock too. I wish I would have grabbed them down here at a discount around 60. That would have been pretty nice actually. It has kind of a setup, reminds me of like Coca-Cola or like Boeing or something like that, but it looks like a pretty safe stock. They have that all-time high at like $100. And man, I would say we could go up there and retest that, especially with the earnings going well like they did.
All right, so we have McDonald's, Visa, MasterCard, Verizon, AT&T, Pep. So a lot of the value stocks are just in the green today. But like, energy, tech, basically everything else is in the red. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. How is Home Depot looking?
Yeah, Home Depot is actually looking red again. I mean, they might start to pull back. Hopefully this isn't like the lower high for Home Depot. I would expect them to maybe come up and touch 340 or somewhere close, but looks like they are getting a lot of red momentum today. A lot of resistance around 332. So I would definitely look out for that. But man, they're definitely looking like they're looking bearish right now. I would say if there's a big support at like 325. So look out for that today. But Home Depot's been one of those powerhouse stocks. It might hit that and just start flying back up. Nobody knows, but definitely look for it to maybe post like some lower highs and then start to go back down. Now that doesn't mean that they're going to, for sure going to do that. They might break out to all-time highs again, but I would definitely look for them to hit a resistance somewhere.
Alrighty, so with the next question, we have Polsky Beast saying, "Hey Mike, I currently have an AMD call and I am making money while the stock is going down. Why is that?" So there are two scenarios when this happens. One is you are either being misquoted by your broker. So like, if the spreads are very wide, they might like quote you on like the ask price or they might quote you on the mark price, and they'll just give you like an unrealistic value of the option. That's one, and that's the most likely scenario in my opinion. And then the other way is, let's say you buy a call and let's say the stock doesn't really move too much, but the implied volatility skyrockets up. Then that would legitimately increase the value of your call option. So those are the two scenarios. Of course, if you are short the call and then the stock falls, you would make money that way. But which option are you holding and which broker are you using? Because in my opinion, you're probably just being misquoted, which actually happens quite a bit.
Yeah, and hopefully that's not the case, but that could definitely happen. And especially like if it's an option with like lower volume on it, that's normally where you'll really see that.
All right, there we go. We have G saying, hit the like button. Appreciate you guys doing this. Hope everyone has a good day in the market today. So thanks so much for joining, everyone. Hitting the like button really helps us out. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, too. I know most of you are subscribed to the main channel, but if you guys want to get like these videos suggested when we go live, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We have I'm Fierce saying, have not heard about RKT for a while. Just checked and getting close to the lows. Thoughts on shares or long-term options? So yeah, you're right. This one is kind of kind of died off. A lot of people were talking about it when it exploded up. I mean, personally, I'm not I don't have any interest in being like a long-term holder of this company. I don't think it's bad. It's just I like other stocks more. But I don't think it's bad to grab up some shares or, long-term options as long as they have time and are pretty close to the money. I think it looks like a pretty decent setup.
Yeah, and I used to actually hold shares of them and it ended up selling out during that crazy run up that I could not believe ended up happening. But I didn't sell out at the top, somewhere in the middle, of course, but definitely was still pretty good for RKT. And, that really scared me for it. The fact that it could like run up like that, it just showed that there was obviously it's good to see it go up in my case, but it just scared me because it shows that there's like a lot of like hype around it. And I just didn't want to be holding that for the longer term. But a lot of people have been talking about lately is that whenever we start to see like the interest rates start to go up and, like at the 30-year like fix can kind of like go up a little bit, they're saying that Rocket Mortgage can make quite a bit of money during that time if we start to see the rates rise, which is a good thing. But, obviously they're down a lot right now. They are around those lows, but keep in mind, they're getting pretty close and they could post, lower lows. So just always keep that in mind too. But the good news is it's at a pretty good, like safe, like risk reward area. You could almost get out if it breaks the all-time low and have a very minimal loss if you grab shares right now and then have a super high upside potential. And like I said, hopefully they can start going up with the rates going up.
All right, Tom, well, what stocks are you watching for the rest of the day?
Man, there's a lot of stuff to actually watch today. There's a lot of stocks going down, which can make for some good plays to the downside. And there's a lot of stocks kind of moving up like McDonald's. And McDonald's has been one of the bigger stocks over the past couple weeks, couple days. And I'll definitely be looking for them. They normally have a pretty solid options chain too. So I'll be looking for some decent moves. Now, they're not going to be the fastest mover by any means, but definitely going to look for them to keep breaking out to all-time highs. Also going to be looking at Apple to the downside. They just bounced off this 1,000 SMA on the 5-minute chart. It looks like they're actually coming right back up off of that, which is not a good sign. I've been seeing a lot of stocks moving down and kind of hitting this 1,000 lately and kind of bouncing there intraday. If we can see a solid move down below this like 147 resistance or support, I should say, I think that we'll see a pretty good move. Now, Apple does have earnings later on, so I would definitely make it a quick trade. But these earnings are going to be very significant. We're going to have Apple reporting, Microsoft, Google. We're going to have some of the biggest companies in the market going in after hours today. So there's definitely going to be some good movement. Then the SPY, I think, is going to have a lot of volatility. Keep in mind the VXX, we might even see like the VIX start to pop up. And look at that. It is starting to pop up this morning as these indices are falling. But man, we have Powell talking. We have so much going on. It might really fuel a sell-off, like maybe like later on today or like possibly like tomorrow morning or something, as a lot of people kind of anticipate and maybe take profits on a lot of these stocks at all-time highs.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. The market's going crazy. Make sure to protect yourself. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you have an amazing